I never believed in near-death stories until I became one. My name is Luz Marquez. I'm a single mother, a nurse from Quezon City, just trying to survive each day. But on the night of September 9th, 2024, my heart stopped after a brutal crash on EDSA and I died. Yes, I died. And in those silent, endless moments, I left my body. I saw what lies beyond the veil and who was waiting for me. Jesus. He didn't just welcome me with light. He showed me things that broke me. He showed me the real enemy behind the chaos in our world today. Not just in America, not just in Europe, but here in the Philippines. He let me see the truth hidden behind the screens in our hands. The slow chains around our minds, the invisible war that no one dares to speak about. I saw the future of our children, of our churches, of our freedom, and it terrified me. I came back for one reason only: to warn you. What you're about to hear is not a dream. It's not a story I made up to scare anyone. This is a message Jesus gave me for Filipino people living in the last days. So please listen, not with your ears, but with your spirit. Because once you see what I saw, you will never look at this world the same again. Before everything shattered, I was just trying to hold life together. I'm Luz Marquez, 38 years old, a single mom from Tandang Sora, Quezon City. I work nights as an ER nurse at East Avenue Medical Center. My life was chaos on a schedule, sleepless, thankless, and utterly exhausting. My daughter Clarice is 11, smart, sensitive, always drawing in her little sketch pad while waiting for me to come home. She once asked Mama, how come we only see each other when it's dark? And I just smiled, trying not to let her see the guilt behind my eyes. The truth is, I was tired, not just tired in the body, but tired in the soul. I prayed sometimes, quietly, softly, but mostly out of desperation. Lord, just get us through this week. Please help me with tuition. Don't let Clarice get sick. But I wasn't close to God, not really. I believed in Him, but from a distance, like many of us. I scrolled social media during breaks. I watched feel-good reels, shared Bible quotes, laughed at silly videos. Then I'd go back to broken patients, bleeding wounds, and screaming relatives. Faith felt like a beautiful picture hung on a crumbling wall. September 9th, 2024 was a rainy Monday. The hospital was packed, usual accidents, dengue cases, and one poor man stabbed in a jeepney robbery. I got off at 7:15 p.m., completely drained. My shoes were soaked, my head throbbed from no sleep. All I wanted was to go home, hug my daughter, and maybe share a late dinner of reheated sinigang. I took a taxi from Quezon Memorial Circle. The rain had gotten heavier and the roads were slick with oil and water. I texted Clarice, "On the way na anak, just warm up the rice, love you." She replied with 3 red heart emojis. I smiled. That would be the last time I ever saw her message before I died. We were driving down EDSA near Kamuning. Traffic was thick, wipers working overtime. My head leaned against the window. I remembered the blinking lights of a billboard advertising a new digital ID system, something about secure your future. Upgrade today. Then it happened. A white SUV from the southbound lane lost control. I didn't even hear the brakes. I only heard the shattering scream of impact. Steel crashing, glass flying, a sound that tears through your bones. The SUV slammed into us head-on and our taxi spun violently. My head hit something hard. My ribs felt like they exploded from the seatbelt. Then came silence. Not darkness, not pain, just silence. Still cold, silent. I felt myself being pulled like a tide tugging at my chest. Something was peeling me away from my own body. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. And then I was floating above the wreckage. I saw the taxi crushed, my driver unconscious, bleeding, my body still inside. I saw bystanders screaming. Someone was calling an ambulance. A barangay tanod was trying to open the door with a crowbar. But I couldn't feel any of it. I wasn't inside anymore. I was somewhere in between here and somewhere else. What hit me most wasn't fear, it was clarity. Everything, the stress, the schedules, the forgotten prayers felt small. I suddenly realized we live like we're in control, but really we're a breath away from eternity. And I wasn't ready. Not at all. The rain kept falling. Flashing ambulance lights turned the road red and blue, but I felt none of it. I was rising slowly, weightlessly, and just before everything turned to light, I heard a voice, not from outside, but inside. Luz, a whisper, but stronger than thunder. Come to me. And in that moment, everything changed. I wasn't falling, I wasn't flying. I was being carried. By what or by whom I couldn't tell. But it felt like the entire weight of the world, grief, fear, exhaustion was melting off my soul layer by layer as I rose into a silence that wasn't empty, but sacred. There was no sky, no ground, only a glowing space of light, soft yet blinding like every sunrise I'd never had time to notice. It didn't hurt my eyes, it healed them. The farther I drifted, the more I remembered things I'd buried. The arguments with my sister, the resentment toward Clarice's father who left us, the nights I questioned if God was even real while holding the hands of dying strangers. I thought this was judgment, but instead, I felt love. A love so thick, so unconditional, it wrapped around me like a warm blanket pulled from a mother's lap. Then, that voice again, it didn't come from around me. It didn't even echo. It entered through my being as if my very spirit recognized its source.
Luce, you are mine.
The moment those words were spoken, the light shifted, and I saw him. I don't know how to describe it. He didn't walk toward me. He didn't fly. He simply was already there in front of me. Jesus, no crown, no thundering display of power. But somehow, I knew every star bowed to him. He wore a robe of white, woven with what looked like liquid light, not fabric. It shimmered gently like moonlight on calm water. But it was his eyes. His eyes pierced me, not like judgment, but like truth wrapped in mercy. They were oceans of compassion, and I drowned willingly. I wanted to speak, to explain, to justify, but I couldn't. I didn't have to, because he already knew me.
You've carried much Anak. You gave everything to others, but almost nothing to yourself.
His voice was soft, familiar, like I had heard it before in whispers during midnight prayers, or in Clarice's laughter, or in the silence after I cried myself to sleep. I fell to my knees, or maybe I didn't have knees anymore. I wasn't even sure if I had a body, but every part of my being knelt before him, not out of fear, but out of reverence.
I have been with you, even when you didn't know. Every shift, every tear, every time you gave love when you had none left.
Tears welled up in me, but not from sorrow, from recognition. This was my king, not the kind of king we imagine with gold and armies, but the king who washed feet, bore nails, and still smiles when we return.
You've believed in me, but from afar. It's time you see why I came.
Suddenly, the space around us shifted. I was no longer floating. I was standing then in what looked like a vast field of living light, flowers that glowed, air that shimmered, music not heard, but felt. I looked at my hands, but they weren't hands. They were light, my essence, my spirit, everything the world could not see, but heaven always had. Jesus walked with me, and every step released waves of memory. I saw my childhood when I first learned to pray. I saw my mother's deathbed, and the moment I whispered, God, why didn't you save her? I saw the countless times I comforted patients, smiled through sorrow, sacrificed sleep. And I realized nothing was forgotten.
Every moment of love echoes in eternity, even when no one saw I did.
Then his tone shifted. He turned toward me, his eyes suddenly deep with sorrow.
Luce, before I send you back, there is something you must see.
I blinked, and in an instant everything turned. The light dimmed, and I found myself standing on the edge of something vast. It wasn't hell, not yet, but it was what the world was becoming. Cold, silent, technological, controlled. I felt a cold wind, but not of nature. It was the chill of souls who had forgotten they were created. I was no longer standing in the meadow of light. I was now in a massive city so advanced it felt terrifying. Everything was silent. No cars honking, no laughter in the air. Only giant screens mounted on buildings flashing endlessly with words like peace, security, progress, but behind them, there were no souls. People walked past like ghosts in daylight. No one spoke, no one made eye contact. Their eyes were hollow, fixed on invisible interfaces glowing in front of them, data streams, commands, advertisements. Each person had a small glowing device embedded under their skin, on their wrist, forehead, or behind their ear. They moved through life with precise gestures, cold and mechanical. A strange weight pressed down on my chest. This was a world without heart, a world of efficiency, speed, and total submission. I looked at Jesus who was standing beside me. He said nothing at first, but in his eyes I saw a deep sorrow, a kind of grief only a father could carry for children who had wandered too far. I whispered in my heart, what happened to them?
This is the result of long compromise, a world that traded its soul for convenience.
Suddenly I heard whispers on the wind. Not in any human language, these were spiritual whispers, seductive and constant, echoing through the air. Let the system decide for you. No need for choices, we'll choose the best. You are safe as long as you obey. I saw families sitting at restaurants, but no one was speaking. Each person stared forward into a personal interface, eyes glassy and expressionless. Children didn't play, didn't ask why. They sat upright still like biological devices waiting for commands. I couldn't bear it. Lord, where are their souls? I cried silently.
They're not dead, but their spirits have been lulled to sleep by lies wrapped in the language of progress.
Then everything shifted. I saw pastors on stages, their voices loud and confident, preaching words that sounded righteous, but they weren't on fire with the Spirit. Their messages were crafted to fit the system.
Many will preach in my name, but lead my people into ease. They will call it blessing, divine AI, spiritual evolution, but it is deception.
I saw megachurches filled to capacity not out of reverence, but because the system gave spiritual points for attendance. I saw devices implanted in people's skin called compassion upgrades, but they were actually chains in disguise. Jesus turned to me, his eyes pierced deeper than any blade.
These are not just tools, they are gateways for control. What begins as optional becomes required. What seems helpful becomes slavery.
I saw lines of people, joyful, hopeful, waiting to receive a spiritual enhancement chip. They laughed, unaware that behind the desk, something dark watched them. A shadowed figure, faceless, voiceless, yet controlling everything. He didn't force them. They came willingly. Jesus then whispered, his voice shaking my very core.
Souls aren't stolen in an instant. They're surrendered little by little, because my people have forgotten me. They forget they were created not to serve machines, but to reign with me in light.
I wanted to scream, Jesus, how do we stop this? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he showed me something else. A small, humble church. No lights, no production, just a few people kneeling, crying, holding Bibles with trembling hands, whispering songs of worship, and light radiated from them. Not loud, but real.
There are still those who hear my voice, and their light pierces the darkness. You must speak. Warn them, even if they reject you, even if they laugh. If one soul wakes up, I will rejoice.
Tears filled my eyes, because I realized I had seen not a future world, but a present path. The choice was not far off. The choice was now. The world began to fade around me again. Not into darkness this time, but into a strange stillness, as if all creation had taken a deep breath and was holding it, waiting. Jesus stood beside me. The light around him flickered with a new intensity. It wasn't peaceful like before, it was urgent, even trembling.
Rosa, I will show you what awaits the world. 2 paths, 2 futures. Only one leads to life.
In an instant, the scenery changed. I stood atop a mountain. Below, I could see a vast landscape stretching far into the distance, 2 roads dividing from a single point. One wide and beautiful, the other narrow and difficult. Jesus pointed to the wide path.
This is the road most will choose. It promises comfort, ease, a world where no one suffers but also where no one truly lives.
I looked closer. People were laughing, taking selfies, drinking coffee from sleek, glowing cups. Music played in the background. There were no protests, no questions. Everything was smooth. But then I noticed something chilling. Their eyes were hollow. Smiles on their faces, but something deep inside them was gone. Their spirits were dim. Their laughter had no warmth. They were following signs that read, "Stay safe, stay connected, stay in control." And then I saw the tower, a giant glass structure at the end of the path. Its top disappeared into the sky. Digital light ran through it like veins. As people entered it, a voice played, "Welcome to the new piece. Your loyalty has been recorded." One by one, they stepped forward, lifted their arms, and received a glowing mark on their skin. They didn't cry. They didn't resist. They just obeyed. Then came the sound of doors locking. The tower became a cage, and not one person tried to escape.
They traded freedom for security. They surrendered truth for a version of peace without me.
Suddenly, fire cracked through the sky. Thunder boomed from the heavens. The earth below that tower began to shake, and the glass, perfect and proud, shattered in slow motion. I gasped, "Lord, is this the end?"
No, this is mercy interrupted. This is what happens when the world silences my voice and forgets its soul.
The vision changed again. Now I stood at the entrance of the narrow road. It was not polished. It was not comfortable. It was a dirt path, rocky and steep, winding through forests and mountains. I saw people walking on it, exhausted, bruised, crying, but their faces were radiant. They sang hymns through their tears. They prayed under stars. They shared food from their backpacks. They lifted one another up. Some had lost everything, homes, friends, jobs, but they had found something eternal. They had found Jesus. I saw a child with no shoes laughing under the rain, a widow singing as she washed clothes, a man in a wheelchair raising his arms toward the sky whispering, "You are still good." These were the awake ones, the ones the world forgot, but heaven knew by name.
These are my remnant. They know my voice. They feel my breath in the wind. They do not chase fame or comfort. They chase me.
I fell to my knees, overwhelmed by the raw holiness I saw on that broken path. The narrow road led to a brilliant light at the horizon, a golden city unlike anything I had imagined. Not of glass or metal, but of joy, of truth, of love so alive it made the ground itself sing. I turned to Jesus. Why don't more people choose this path?
Because it costs something. It costs pride, comfort, self-will. But to those who endure, it gives everything.
Then Jesus opened his hand and showed me a clock. Its hands were spinning faster than normal, as if time itself was accelerating.
Time is collapsing. The moments are few. Many still sleep, but I will shake the earth to awaken them.
Suddenly I saw earthquakes, floods, governments falling, fires in places that had never burned before, but not all of it was physical. I saw people screaming behind their smiles, breaking under invisible weight. Marriages falling apart, children losing their sense of self, teenagers screaming silently through screens. And amid it all, a voice kept calling, "Return to me, return to me."
Even now I call them. Even in their rebellion I reach. My mercy has not ended, but soon every choice will be sealed.
He looked into my soul.
Rosa, you must tell them. The future is not fixed. Their choice still matters. But they must decide. Now.
Then everything went still again. I was back in the field. Jesus held out his hand.
Walk with me just a little longer. There is still more you must see.
The golden horizon began to fade. The song of eternity, once thunderous and alive within me, slowly dulled into silence. I felt the weight return first in my soul, then my limbs. The light around Jesus flickered like a candle dimming in the wind. My heart trembled. I wasn't ready. I didn't want to leave him. How could I return to a world that no longer felt real? I turned to Jesus, desperation swelling in my chest. "Please, let me stay." He looked at me, eyes full of purpose overflowing with love and authority.
Rosa, your time here is not yet. There are voices still asleep, hearts still chained. You must go and awaken them.
A tear slid down my cheek. The air shimmered with finality. I tried to memorize his face the way his presence felt like safety and power combined.
You carry my truth now. Not everyone will believe you. Some will mock you. Others will turn away. But speak anyway. The harvest is near and the laborers are few.
His hand reached out and rested gently over my heart.
You are not alone. I will be with you even when no one else stands by your side. Do not fear their rejection, fear their silence.
And then I was falling not through space but through spirit, through time, through the veil of eternity. I gasped. Suddenly I was back in my broken body. The hospital lights above me buzzed. Machines beeped in a steady rhythm. My chest burned like fire had been poured into it. Tubes snaked around my arms and the sterile smell of alcohol and disinfectant filled my nostrils. I opened my eyes. Faces leaned over me. My sister Clara, my son Inigo. A nurse dropped her clipboard in shock. Rosa, Mama, you're awake. Their voices were shaky, filled with disbelief and wonder. My vision blurred from the tears in their eyes. But all I could whisper was, I saw him. Clara leaned closer, gripping my hand tightly. Who? What happened, Rosa? I wanted to explain everything, the tower, the roads, the fire in Jesus' eyes. But my throat was dry. My body ached. My soul felt too large for this fragile shell of flesh. In the days that followed, I tried to speak. I tried to tell them the truth. But most didn't understand. Some smiled gently and nodded politely, saying, I was just grateful to be alive. Others said the trauma had created hallucinations. Even my pastor, a man I had trusted, patted my shoulder and warned me not to cause panic in the congregation. Panic. Had they not seen what I saw? The future wasn't coming, it had begun. I wept alone in my room that night, staring at the ceiling, whispering Jesus' name into the dark. Then I heard it again, his voice, not loud, not outside, but inside.
Do not be discouraged, Rosa. You were not sent for applause, but for obedience.
So I obeyed. I started small. I wrote down everything I remembered. I shared it online. At first, only a handful of people reacted, but then the messages started coming. Rosa, I had the same dream. Your vision explains what I've been feeling for years. I thought I was going crazy, but now I believe. I realized something then. God was already stirring hearts. I wasn't starting a fire, I was fanning one. But it was not easy. Some people blocked me. Others called me a fanatic, a conspiracy theorist, a woman chasing attention. Even people in my own family grew distant. But I clung to the promise Jesus gave me, I will be with you. I started seeing the signs all around me. Churches integrating AI into sermons. Schools teaching children their truth was more important than God's. News anchors praising implant technology that promised peace of mind and personal safety. It was all happening, just like He showed me. And yet, so many remained asleep. I cried again one night, asking the Lord, what more can I do? They won't listen. And softly His answer came.
Speak anyway. Love them, warn them, but leave the harvest to me.
So I kept speaking, even when it hurt, even when I was afraid, even when my voice shook, because I had seen the real war, not between nations, but between truth and deception, identity and confusion, eternity and temporary comfort. I had seen what was coming, and I couldn't stay silent. It's been 9 months since I returned. 9 months since I left the throne room of heaven. 9 months since I stood before the King of Kings, trembling under the weight of truth and eternity. And not a single day has passed without me reliving what I saw. I try to live like before: cooking breakfast, folding laundry, attending church, smiling at neighbors. But nothing feels normal anymore. Because how can you live like everything is fine when you've seen how close we are to the edge? Some nights I wake up drenched in sweat, hearing His voice echo through my soul.
Tell them, warn them, love them, but do not remain silent.
So here I am, still speaking, still hoping someone, anyone, will truly listen. Because friend, this isn't just a story. This isn't just a vision. This is a rescue mission. And whether you know it or not, You're in the middle of the battlefield. You see, the enemy isn't coming with chains and pitchforks. He's coming with ease, convenience, security. He's offering silence where you should speak, comfort where you should resist, distraction where you should wake up. He's not asking for your soul in one transaction. He's conditioning it one compromise at a time. And I saw where it leads. A city of perfect silence, glowing screens, smiling slaves, people no longer alive, just existing. That is what's coming. And it won't start with fear. It'll start with convenience. But the end of it is slavery, spiritual slavery. Jesus didn't show me these things to terrify me. He showed me so I could remind you of what you've forgotten. You were born for more than this world. You carry an eternal soul. Your life is not a random accident of time and flesh. You were crafted by the hands of the one who breathed stars into the sky.
Tell them who they are. They are not accidents. They are not statistics. They are mine.
You are not black or white, not rich or poor, not conservative or liberal, not victim or villain. You are God's creation, and the devil has spent your whole life trying to make you forget that. But today, if you're still reading, it's because Jesus is whispering to your soul.
Come home.
And yes, the narrow road is hard. You will lose friends. You will be mocked. You will be misunderstood. But on that road, you will find life. True life. Eternal life. Because at the end of that road, Jesus waits with open arms. I can't promise you that following him will make life easier. But I can promise you this. It will be worth it. I saw the fire in his eyes. I saw the sorrow in his tears, and I saw the army of lights rising across the earth, ordinary people who refuse to bow to deception. Those are the warriors of this generation. Mothers, teachers, students, pastors, delivery workers, YouTube creators, anyone who dares to speak the truth even if their voice trembles. Jesus calls them his own.
They are my remnant, and I will be their strength when the world turns against them.
If you're still watching, still listening, still breathing, you're part of this moment. You are being invited to rise, to wake up, to choose, not between left or right, but between truth and illusion, between the wide road that leads to silence, digital slavery, and spiritual blindness, and the narrow road that leads to freedom, awakening, and glory.
Tell them the time is short. Choose me now, while you still can.
So I'm asking you, no, I'm begging you. Don't wait for the world to collapse before you open your eyes. Don't wait for the comfort to become a cage. Don't wait for the system to brand your soul before you cry out. Cry out now while you're free. Turn to him, ask for his voice, his truth, his mercy. Because the day is coming, and it is coming fast, when the truth will be rare and deception will look like love.
Blessed are those who are not ashamed of me in this generation.
This is not a trend. This is not content. This is not a dream. This is a trumpet blast. And you were meant to hear it. If you're still here, it means something inside you was stirred. Maybe it was a whisper. Maybe it was a cry. Maybe it was a deep ache you've tried to silence for too long. But now you can't ignore it anymore. Because you've heard the truth. You've seen the warning. And now you've been handed a choice. This story wasn't shared to entertain. It was shared to awaken, to shake the dust off our faith, to remind us that Jesus is not just a figure in a book. He's real. He's coming back. And he's calling us to rise. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to say yes. Yes to truth. Yes to love. Yes to the narrow road. And if this video moved you even just a little, let it move you into action. Pray right now. Jesus is listening. He always was. Speak. Share what you've heard. Don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to this channel, Pinoy Faith Stories, because here we tell the stories that matter eternally. Comment below. Let the world know you're awake, alive, and ready. Like this video if it stirred your soul. Not for the algorithm, but to let the light rise higher. We are building a family here, a remnant, a voice in the wilderness. And your voice matters. Yes, your voice. You might think you're too small, too broken, too far gone. But remember what Jesus said.
I have been using the unlikely for thousands of years. You don't need to be powerful. You just need to be willing.
So be willing, be bold, be faithful. This is Pinoy Faith Stories, and we are here to speak the truth no matter how loud the lies become. We are here to testify, to watch, to warn, to worship. And if you're with us, hit that subscribe button, leave your prayer in the comments. Stand with us in faith. Because we're just getting started. Share this message with your family, your church, your classmates, your followers. Let them hear the sound of awakening. Because if not now, when? If not you, who?
I am knocking, not at the door of buildings, but at the door of hearts. Will you open?
Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for feeling. We'll see you in the next testimony. Until then, stay awake, stay ready, and stay close to Jesus. This is Pinoy Faith Stories, and this is your moment.